Morning 5 on Friday, September 19th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, your recruiting buzz is on the site right now for subscribers. You begin with an item on linebacker Porter Gustin, who is ranked as the number 6 outside linebacker, the number 64 overall player in the country in the 2015 class, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. This looks like it might be a little bit of a long shot for the Buckeyes, in my opinion. I say a little bit of a long shot because he will take an official visit to Ohio State at some point, and you get a kid to take an official visit, anything is possible. But looking at the crystal ball, it seems like a lot of people think he's going to be USC bound. Am I wrong to think, Bill, that this is a little bit of a long shot for the Buckeyes landing Porter Gustin?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a bit of an uphill battle, but it is a battle Ohio State is willing to wage, and that they are in. I mean, he is definitely planning to schedule an official visit to Ohio State. It's just a matter of working out a date. With him being from so far away, they really would like to make their game day visits to night games. It just works out better with the flight schedule and getting him back home and all that. And when you look at Ohio State's schedule, the main night game that they could make would be the Illinois game. So they're trying to make that work out. It's not a done deal that game will work out. They've also talked about possibly him visiting for the Indiana game, but right now the time hasn't been determined on a game yet. But even if they don't make it to a game, the plan is absolutely for Porter Gustin to make an official visit to Ohio State in December if he doesn't make it to one of the Buckeyes games. So yeah, it's not going to be an easy land. Certainly, it's an uphill battle. But as I like to say, the first step is getting them on campus for a visit, and they definitely want to make an official visit to Ohio State.
Yeah, that's huge, knowing that he's going to make an official visit. And this is, speaking of huge, this is a big opportunity for Ohio State to recruit this weekend, with this being a bye week. Ohio State coaches will be on the road tonight and this weekend. Bill, what can you tell us about that?
Well, it's as we know, it's a bye week, and that is when recruiting is full bore. The coaches are out on the road, and they're seeing kids. They're going to the games and all, and that includes the main man, Urban Meyer himself, is going to be out on the road. He will be out to see 2016 linebacker Brendan Furns tonight, and that's a big deal. When somebody of the stature of Urban Meyer comes to see you play, that you're a very wanted prospect. So, the Ohio State coach will be fanning out. Larry Johnson, for instance, will be down in the Maryland, Virginia area tonight with quarterback Dwayne Haskins as his main target guy. He's going to see him play tonight. But the coaches will be fanning out all over Ohio, in different places outside of Ohio, and it's recruiting full bore this weekend for the Ohio State staff. Some people feel like, well, when Ohio State has a bye week, the coaches have a little off time. That is not the case. They are working hard on the recruiting front.
Yeah, these guys aren't sitting around watching games and drinking some pops or some adult pops or whatever it might be and just kicking back. They're probably working harder than they usually do. They prefer to have a game this week and have a little fun. Matthew Burrell, sticking on the recruiting front here, 4-star offensive lineman from Woodbridge, Virginia. Bill, 98% of the crystal ball picks are for Ohio State. Burrell says the Buckeyes lead, but Steve Wiltfong said on yesterday's show he does not think Burrell will pick Ohio State. Is this our buddy Steve Wiltfong just going way out on a limb here, or are you hearing what gives with Matthew Burrell at this point?
Well, there's no doubt that Matthew Burrell is interested in Ohio State. He's been to Ohio State. I was there at the Ohio State camp that he was at. He wasn't camping that day, but he was at Ohio State's camp. Seemed to get along with everyone very well. He's really shown that he's very interested in Ohio State. But I tend to agree with Steve Wiltfong. In the end, I'm not convinced he's going to be a Buckeye. I certainly think that could happen, but I'm not totally convinced that he's going to be a Buckeye. Like if you read the crystal ball, you would see it's a slam dunk. I could see him staying in the South, and certainly Florida and Florida State are very much in the running. But Ohio State is going to see him play tonight, as I mentioned. The coaches are out on the road, and they very much have a realistic shot at landing him I'm just not convinced enough right now that I would crystal ball him to Ohio State, certainly.
Bill, you're, of course, known for recruiting. I gave you the nickname, the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, but you also follow the current team very closely, for those who don't know. I mean, you don't miss a Buckeye game. You study the Buckeyes, so, this is a burning topic, in my opinion. Raekwon McMillan needs to be the starting middle linebacker. I'm having flashbacks to Ryan Shazier 3 years ago. I mean, this needs to happen, especially with Cincinnati on the horizon, a good passing team. Raekwon just seems more instinctive. He covers well. He does everything well. He plays the run well. He blitzes well. I think now is the time for Raekwon McMillan to be the starting middle linebacker and stay there for the remainder of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, with my coaching background, and I've coached for a long time, I see both sides of the story, so to speak, or both sides of the coin, so to speak. You've got someone like Curtis Grant that's been here. He's spent his time. He's worked hard. And, I don't know that necessarily, and I think the coaches would probably say this, that there's a huge, huge difference right now between the two. That, they feel like Curtis Grant can help the team, and, he's been here, and there is something to say for loyalty. If players feel like the coaching staff is loyal to them, I think that's a good thing. I can also see the other side of the coin. If McMillan is the guy of the future, which I think he is, and if he is very close to Grant or right there with Grant, then you get the younger guy in. I can see that side too. It's a tough situation. The bottom line is, to me, is that the coaches see these guys every single day, and they're going to do everything that they can to win football games, and obviously they feel like the guys that they have in there playing are the guys that are going to help them win football games, and that's who they go with. So, I guess that the bottom line is I'm going to defer to the coaching staff a little bit because they obviously see Curtis Grant and Raekwon McMillan every single day, of course, much more than I do.
Urban Meyer indicated this week that Raekwon, he said it before, that Raekwon needs to play more. He said it after the Navy game, and then Raekwon played 2 plays against Virginia Tech. So technically he did play more, but he played a lot against Kent State. And Meyer said after that he needs to play more. So I think after the Kent State game. So maybe this will be the time. It's now or never, in my opinion. I think if they're going to make the change, now's the time to do it. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Raekwon McMillan is the starting middle linebacker against Cincinnati, or if they will stick with the senior captain, Curtis Grant. It is a tough decision for the coaches. Great stuff from the Dean. On the site today, the boarding house will be posted before noon. We'll have an interesting item on Noah Spence. We know he's practicing with the team per Urban Meyer, but has Spence entered a drug rehab program yet? And what's on the horizon for him if everything goes well? We will have the answers in today's house. We will also have a boarding house item on true freshman offensive lineman Demetrius Knox and what's going on behind the scenes with him. You will not want to miss today's boarding house, and it's for subscribers only. So if you're not a subscriber, try our 30-day free trial. Thank you to the Dean of Ohio State Football Recruiting, Bill Kurlick. Thank you to all the listeners out there. Take it away, best damn band in the land.